between the lines. Got to read. Got to read between.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of What's Going On. I'm your host, Tom DeAmber. As always, we are very thankful you take the time from your busy day to view our program. My friends, I was not going to get into the circus with the Brett Kavanaugh confirmation hearings and all, but I felt that it was necessary to go down this road due to the fact that once again, the deep state, the people answering to the international bankers and not to the people of our nation have once again exposed themselves for the circus that they are orchestrating. So we're going to get into that, but I want to touch on some subject matters that I was going to get into in depth. But I'm going to just do a quick brush overview of some of this material, and then we're going to get into the Kavanaugh hearings. Now, if you remember a quote from Mr. Sherman Webster, and his quote hits home heavy. All war is a settlement of debt. Now, we tend to believe that when we go to war, of course, we haven't declared war since December 8th, 1941. So everything from that point on has been unconstitutional. Every drop of blood has been done outside legitimacy of our republic. Please take note, I didn't say democracy. Now, I'm just going to read, this is from Zero Hedge, and I was going to get into this in depth because it really speaks a lot, but listen to this. ZeroHedge.com, folks, the complete article is there. But the headline is, Europe unveils special purpose vehicle to bypass SWIFT, jeopardizing dollar's reserve status. Quite a headline. In a stunning vote of no confidence in the U.S. monopoly over global payment infrastructure. Okay, folks, I have just read to you exactly, besides for the profits of the companies that make the hardware, the logistics of war, I have just read to you in the last, well, since 1991, the reason why every drop of blood that the bankers' military, U.S. military, has dropped throughout the world is because of this statement right here. And you can categorize it known as the Bretton Woods Agreement. Yeah, they sold it to you with lies. They vilified the truth. But the whole thing, my friends, every drop of blood that our soldiers and our military personnel, and every drop of blood on their end and against the potential foe, whoever they face throughout the world, has all been for the profits of corporations, yes, but more importantly, it has been to keep the dollars. We don't have dollars. We have Federal Reserve note. A dollar, as if you've been watching this program, you know very well, we do not have dollars. A dollar is 25.8 grains of gold and in a 15:1 ratio of silver. Do you have any gold or silver backing your Federal Reserve note? No, you don't. Do you understand what backs your Federal Reserve note? You should, because you're it. You are the co-surety after your mother bonded you with the birth certificate that made you the co-surety to the facade debt. This isn't going to be a show about our money system, but this is going to be a program real quick at this end of it about the extremes that the bankers will go through, including mayhem and murder and war, to protect and keep into place the dollar's status as the reserve currency throughout the Western world, or the world for that matter. Now, we do know that we did shows on the BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South America. Now it's gone on to 54, South Africa has now gone on to 54 other countries. And now we find out what Mr. John Kerry, as he's been flying around the world, Iran and other places, was up to. And I want to ask you, why is he not being prosecuted by the Logan Act? Then again, there's never been a prosecution with the Logan Act. Think of that. Because the laws are meant for you and I, not for them. So Europe unveils special purpose vehicle to bypass SWIFT, jeopardizing dollar's reserve status. In a stunning vote of confidence in the U.S. monopoly over global payment infrastructure, 1 month ago, Germany's Foreign Minister Heiko Maas called for the creation of a new payment system independent of the United States that would allow Brussels to be independent in its financial operations from Washington, and as a means of rescuing the nuclear deal between Iran and the West. You got this? Writing in German daily Handelsblatt, Maas said, Europe should not allow the United States to act over our heads and at our expense. For that reason, it is essential that we strengthen European autonomy by establishing payment channels that are independent of the United States, creating a European monetary fund, and building up an independent SWIFT system. Maas said it was vital for Europe to stick with the Iran deal. Every day the agreement continues to exist is better than the highly explosive crisis that otherwise threatens the Middle East. He said, with the unspoken message was even clearer. Europe no longer wants to be vassal state to a U.S. monopoly over global payments and will now aggressively pursue its own SWIFT network that is not subservient to Washington's every whim. Many discounted the proposal as being too far aggressive, and a direct assault on SWIFT and Washington would be seen by the rest of the world as a clear mutiny against a U.S.-dominated global regime. See, here's the problem with Trump. Trump's not interested in a clear U.S.-dominated global regime. Trump is interested by what I'm seeing, and I'm not a Republican, folks. I do not play that game, Republican, Democrat. That's for people who were tied up in the divide paradigm. That's all that's for. That's to keep us divided. I have never voted, not once in my life, by party affiliation. I have always voted by the individual. Never once by party affiliation. Now, there is no difference between the Democrats and the rhinos. Republican in name only. That's what that rhino is, an acronym. That's what it stands for. Republican in name only. So, understand, my friends, that all war is a settlement of debt. They may sell it to you in lies and propaganda, but it is a settlement of debt. And the bankers, to keep the current Bretton Woods agreement in a superior position throughout the world, you better believe your bottom dollar, pun intended, that they will create crisis. They will send your sons and daughters off to bleed, and they will kill millions of people, as the United States military has done since 1991, to keep the Bretton Woods Agreement afloat. They even had a false flag event, you know it as 9/11, to justify the U.S. military expanding its role in numerous countries. Iraq, Afghanistan, Yemen, I can go on. You know it. So understand, folks, this is huge news. I could do a whole show on this right here, and it is crucial that you understand this. Very crucial. And now you know what John Kerry as he's been flying around the world, particularly Europe and Iran, what he was doing. So who is financing Kerry to do this? Who is giving Kerry inside information? Who is arranging? You just don't go see the heads of state on a phone call, my friends. You have people who are really at the control levers, making these contacts, being a liaison to set up these meetings and have this documentation at hand to go forward with it. Again, at the expense of the sweat equity of the American people and the blood of the American military. Okay, so Mr. John Kerry, you need to be put up on charges here of through the Logan Act. I am not going to get into it real quickly, folks, but I was going to get into it more. But anyway, there's also the Iran nuclear deal reaffirms the commitment to this agreement. So everyone that was partaking in the Iran deal, which is the EU, the UK, of course France and Germany goes along with that, but also Russia and China have all signed on to this. And why wouldn't our enemies sign on to this in the hands of Russia and China? I don't believe Russia's our enemies. I believe our policies are making Russia our enemies. But I don't believe Russia wants to be our enemies. China, on the other hand, my friends, has told its own people that war with the, and I quote, this is verbatim, not paraphrasing here, that war with the United States is inevitable. All war is a settlement of debt. Okay. This is a headline from the Intercept.com. The government wants airlines to delay your flights so they can scan your face. Folks, for the sake of time, I'm going to go right through this. This is called omnipresent facial recognition. It has become a golden goose for law enforcement agencies around the world. In the United States, few are as eager as the Department of Homeland Security to use this at American airports. American airports are currently being used as laboratories for a new tool that would automatically scan your face and confirm your identity with U.S. Customs and Border Protection as you prepare to board a flight, despite the near unanimous objections from privacy advocates and civil libertarians who call such scanners invasive and pointless. Now, according to the new report on the biometric entry-exit program by the DHS itself, we can add another objection. Are you ready for this? Department of Homeland Security Office of the General Inspector General is overwhelmingly supportive in its evaluation of airport-based biometric surveillance. Now, let me see if I got this right. We have this big terrorist threat. We have to be prodded at the airport for me to go get to renew my license that I've had in the state of Vermont, driver's license in the state of Vermont since 1985. I have to have 4 different sets of ID. 4 different sets. And believe it or not, even though some of it is from the state of Vermont, Department of Transportation, the state of Vermont won't recognize some of it. But yet, we have the border wide open. As a matter of fact, in the last 2 days, over 15 Romanians have been caught in Derby Line, Vermont, coming across the Canadian border, all suspiciously. And I was going to get into that, but I won't, because, again, for the sake of time. So why is it they want to delay our flights so they can biometrically scan us and then add that to the portfolio they've already put towards us? Now they have a face for us. Don't worry about your flight, because guess what? The airlines have agreed to delay your flights if the surveillance prototype is plagued by technical issues and slowdowns. DHS is demanding flight departure schedules be delayed or pose other operational problems, which would significantly hamper biometric matching of passengers during the pilot program, which began in early 2017. Don't worry about it, folks. All good. Okay. Now, We also reported to you at the last 2016 election that 5 states were stolen from President Trump for a total of just over 17 million votes. And this included dead people, blah, blah, blah. We did a lot of information on that. Now, this is from nextgov.com, written by senior correspondent Joseph Marks. Headline, Hackers Report Cites Staggering Vulnerabilities in U.S. Voting Systems. New policy and guidances are coming for agencies to ensure that they are using secure network connections. Really? They don't care about an honest election, folks. They want to be able to control the tabulation. You see? What was it Lenin said? It matters not who votes, but who counts the votes. You get it? Again, I'm not going to read this whole thing for the sake of time, but what I am going to tell you is that when I did read about this program, again, Homeland Security is involved. So, what they did was they took a bunch of the top hackers in the country and they set up this new top-of-the-line system to see if the hackers could break the system, manipulate the system, and leave any potential red flags to demonstrate that, yes, it was hacked, it was manipulated, and you know I'm there. I was there. Guess what? It was hacked, it was manipulated, but they were able to get in and out without leaving a trail. And you may say, well, hey, anyone can do that, Tom, if they've got days and weeks to work on it. Nope. The first hacker broke in the system, manipulated the system in under 3 minutes time. Let me say that again. Under 3 minutes time. Okay, so maybe there will be a blue wave. With that kind of hacking at their availability, I'm sure there will be. Okay, now, this was something that I was up 2.5 hours studying last night. And this is very scary, my friends. All war is a settlement of debt. The war is coming for what I just read to you. To whether the United States can lie to its people, send enough of their sons and daughters off to kill enough of the poor people of other countries to mandate that the Bretton Woods Agreement stays afloat. Folks, this is why we went into Libya. Right? So we went into Libya because Gaddafi, the terrible Gaddafi who had done so much for Libya, the most prosperous nation in all of Africa at the time when we put Benghazi into play. Gaddafi, folks, was going to accept gold. He was going to form a gold deny. What would you rather have in your pocket? An instrument based partially on gold, or an instrument based on ignorance and the sweat equity of its people, an instrument of debt? What would you rather have? Debt or intrinsic valued commodity? Which one? Which one? If you have any common sense, you would say the gold or silver based commodity. What did Gaddafi do, even though we put him in power in 1958? Well, he was going to start to accept other currencies for his oil other than, you guessed it, the petrodollar. Can't have that. Bye-bye, Gaddafi. Can you say weapons of mass destruction? Don't ask questions. Send your sons and daughters off to bleed and kill for the Bretton Woods Agreement. I just mentioned the BRICS. Now the BRICS are going to be using the Chinese yuan. Internationally, it's known as the renminbi, where it's going to be partially backed by gold. Why do you think 54 other countries have signed on to this agreement, my friends? Because the only reason why they've stuck with the Bretton Woods Agreement is because they're afraid of your sons and daughters wearing pretty uniforms, coming to their country and creating murder. That's called intimidation by the use of fear. Why have we gone into Yemen? Because of what's going on with Saudi Arabia. We have to protect Saudi Arabia. After all, we all know that we formed OPEC because there was no more gold or silver to back when Nixon, with a political gun in his head, took us off the gold standard in '71. We had to have a way to keep the Bretton Woods Agreement afloat. So what did we do? We formed the EPA, Environmental Protection Agency. We shut down domestic oil production in this country. And then we went to Saudi Arabia and said, hey, look, we're going to protect you militarily. We're going to shut down domestic oil production in the United States. We're going to make you rich beyond all. We're not going to get involved in your domestic affairs. We're not going to let any of your enemies encroach on your borders. And we're going to make you so rich, but yet you're going to take a percentage of your earnings and you're going to buy these things called treasury bonds to keep this indebted script vehicle afloat. And the American people have been paying for that in sweat equity, in money, in inflation, and in blood since 1973. Now, Vladimir Putin, my friends, does not want to be enemies with the United States. I have studied this man in depth. Actually, I will tell you, I have studied him more than any other active politician in any other country on this earth, including Donald Trump. And I will tell you, the man has done tremendous good for the people of Russia. He does not want war. We have completely encompassed his borders. We have put sanctions against him. We have bombed, shot down his aircraft. We have killed hundreds of his troops, literally, in Syria alone. Putin sees the writing on the wall. He knows that Trump does not have control of this government, my friends. He understands it. He also understands that Trump has some real heavy globalists giving him his advice, like Nikki Haley, UN ambassador, and many, many others. Heavy globalist. Is he learning some lessons? I'm beginning to believe so. It may be too late. Okay. This is all over the web, folks. You won't find this on the mainstream media in this country. Russia is ready for war. Operation Vostok 2018. If you want to look it up, it's V as in Victor, O-S-T-O-K as in Kilo. Operation Vostok 2018 simulated World War III with 2 nuclear strikes upon America within 1 week. Folks, do you remember we reported to you last year that they did a military/civil defense drill that involved over 20 million people? 20 million! What do you think? When do you think in your town, in your city, the last time a civil defense cellar, whatever you want to call it, was actually, the door was even opened? Never mind inspected to see what was there and up-to-date equipment and medicine and food, water, all of it. No. It hasn't happened, folks, since the 70s. Matter of fact, Ronald Reagan did a study on it and found that our civil defense was in complete disarray. Do you think the United States could hold a civil defense drill in conjunction with its military involving over 20 million people? Whole cities, folks, whole cities were moved underground. We have cities that are underground, but that's for the beautiful people, not for you and I, the Camp Davids and so forth. This operation, folks, was incredibly impressive. And I'm going to be quick here. I've already spent too much time. Undeclared alliance between Russia and China, a message sent to Washington, D.C. Now, this was written by Dr. Peter Vincent Pry. Not a big fan of his writings, but his information in this particular article just coincides with what my research brought forward. So, for the sake of time, I'm going to be real quick. The real threat from Russia is not elections. Oh yeah, and you think that Russia, because you've been sold a bag of lies, actually was trying to influence our election for President Trump. Folks, as we've been into on this program, the Russians were in bed with the DNC, they were in bed with the State Department, they were in bed with the Clinton Foundation. They sent millions and millions of dollars to the Clinton Foundation anticipating Hillary Clinton was going to win. The real threat from Russia is not to elections, but to our lives. Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu describes their recent massive military exercise known as Vostok 18 as involving, listen to this, over 300,000 troops, over 36,000 tanks and vehicles, over 1,000 aircraft, over 80 ships, and joint military operations with China. Vostok 18 is the largest rehearsal of World War III in the 21st century, as big as Zakpad 81, that then USSR's biggest military exercise, simulating invasion of NATO during the height of the Cold War nearly 40 years ago. Okay. Folks, go on the internet and look, and you can go to RT and other sites, Pravda and many others. But anyway, and look at this equipment. They also, folks, I got to tell you, the 80 ships that they sent, they also sunk a fleet of 18 ships. Sunk them. Now, and you may say, oh, well, okay, they weren't doing defensive maneuvers, they weren't being shot back at. Folks, I want to tell you something. They don't have to. Can you say USS Donald Cook? You remember the USS Donald Cook when the Russians shut it down? It had to be towed back in from the Aegean Sea all the way to Bahrain. They shut it down, folks. They took control over one of our top Aegis destroyers. They have made the top line of the F-18 Prowler, which is an electronics jamming aircraft, some of the best we have, fall out of the sky. Happened in California and Florida. They have, folks, they've got the technology. We think we're it because we're sold a bag of lies. So you've got all the reasons, economic reasons, for the bankers to send us into one big World War III, and you've got our enemies preparing for World War III in a major, major manner. Okay. So now, just some quick quotes here. This is Mr. Putin. And I like to show this picture because he is demonstrating to his people, we have our gold. Russia is now the #2 holder of gold in the world. Guess who #1 is? China. So why are these two countries and others purchasing tons of gold? Perhaps there is a currency war coming? And currency wars always manifest to what? Physical war. After all war is a settlement of debt. Oh, excuse me. This is from Eric Blair, you know him as George Orwell. Political language is designed to make lies sound truthful and murder respectable. Absolutely true. In time of deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act. And that's why they're trying to shut down the alternative media. The further a society drifts from the truth, the more it will hate those that speak it. Again, from Mr. George Orwell. Okay. This is a very important quote, my friends. This is Napoleon Bonaparte, one of my favorite quotes from him. Of course, my all-time favorite quote from Napoleon Bonaparte is, "History is agreed upon lies by the victors." When a government is dependent upon bankers for money, they are not the leaders of the government that control the situation. Since the hand that gives is above the hand that takes, money has no motherland. Financiers are without patriotism and without decency. Their sole object is gain. And folks, believe me, they will send us to World War III for that sole object. Okay. All right. Real quick. I went too far. I was going to get into what's going on with Mr. Kavanaugh. And anyway, opening statement here, Mr. Chairman, Ranking Member Feinstein. Oh, let's stop right there. Ranking Member Feinstein. You mean Chinese Communist Agent Feinstein. How is it this woman's not up on charges? How is it her husband's not up on charges? Why? Because she is part of the Just Us system and we're not. Folks, since she's been in office, they have accumulated millions and millions and millions of dollars. The total figure is not really known. So then she says her second chief of staff of 21 years, we now find out, is a Chinese agent. Where's the uproar? Why is she not in handcuffs? You can say, well, maybe she didn't know. Well, then you know what? Then she should be removed from office for incompetence. Of course she knew. Okay. I don't have the time for all of this. I'm going to try to break down some of his statement. This is Mr. Kavanaugh. All four people allegedly at the event, including Dr. Ford's longtime friend, Ms. Kaiser, have said they recall no such event. Her longtime friend, Ms. Kaiser, said under penalty of felony that she does not know me and does not believe she ever saw me at a party ever. Here is the quote from Ms. Kaiser's attorney's letter. Quote, simply put, Ms. Kaiser does not know Mr. Kavanaugh. She has no recollection of ever being at a party or gathering where he was present with or without Dr. Ford, end quote. Folks, every time that she comes up with a witness, the witness that she names comes out and says, sorry, didn't happen. I wasn't there. Didn't happen. As right before we went on the air here, folks, the floor vote was starting to take in the confirmation process. The Democrats walked out. Are they looking out for the well-being of our country? No. This has been a stall tactic from day one. Based on what? Lies. Okay, then he gets into the 10-day delay has been very harmful to me and his family, to the Supreme Court, and to the country. Wow, a man who was looking out for the country. Now, folks, I got to tell you right now, out of the top 5 that was left on the short list when Kavanaugh was nominated, I got to tell you, he was my last choice out of the 5. My last one. I wanted Amy Barrett. That's who I wanted. I felt that she was leaps and bounds the best qualified candidate as a constitutional Supreme Court justice. I don't like what Kavanaugh did back in the days with different things that went on with Hillary Clinton. It could be construed, folks, that he was protecting her at various points. Again, for the sake of time, we won't get into it. But I've got his whole statement here, and I'm going to tell you, as I've read this, last night, I was thinking, this whole thing is just lies, folks. Just like Mr. Orwell, it was said to us. It's all lies. There is, you've got, when you want to investigate a crime, what do? You have to have, number one, collaborating evidence. You have to have collaborating evidence. You have to have things like witnesses, you have to have forensics, you have to have physical, all these different things that go into collaborating evidence. Is there one shred of collaborating evidence that has been presented by Dianne Feinstein and the rest of them? Not one. Not one. Folks, not one. Not one witness, not one. And how about this one? I felt like my life was threatened. He was going to rape me. My life was threatened, but I don't know what house it was. I'm not sure of the date. My 4 witnesses have said, sorry, wasn't there, didn't happen. And have you noticed another thing about all these people? Why is it that they're always in academia or politics? Why is it? They are always in academia, particularly college professors. You know, I'm actually cringing to meet a college professor that is articulate, that is actually interested in education and instead of indoctrination. Why are they always these whacked out college professors? They make a very high sum of money, don't they? Well, you should know that. You pay the tab for this foolishness. And you pay for the tab for the foolishness for these indoctrination centers known as the public school system. Why do you think they want to control education? And what was it that the founder of the current American education system said? Men are born ignorant. This is Bertrand Russell. Men are born ignorant. Ignorant, folks, mean to be without knowledge. Okay? Men are born ignorant and made stupid through education. You get it? They don't want you thinking, folks. You know, the biggest election of this country's history, at least in the top 3. I won't say the biggest, because there are 2 other ones that were. You know, anytime you look back at history, folks, there are certain hinge points in history where things could have went either way, either through inaction or action. This election coming up in 2016 fits that bill. This election is by far in the top 3, if not number 1, of crucial hinge points for our people and for the world for that matter. Because, folks, the only people that are going to win at World War III, thermonuclear war, are the people who are profiting and know they're part of the system and will be protected. Because after all, my friends, remember, all of these folks are Satanists. I know, oh, it's the Jews, oh, it's the Catholics. No, folks, they make up all them demographics, but they are all at heart practicing Satanists. And in their own writings, they want to reduce the population of this earth to 500 million. That's quite a reduction from 7.1 billion, isn't it? And we have got to ask ourselves that if, as I've just read to you, if hackers are able to break into our protected electoral process in under 3 minutes without leaving a trace and manipulating it, do you think they're really interested in having a fair and objective election? Well, Tom, we got to keep up with the technology. We got to keep up with the technology. Technology changes every day. It does. But sometimes, folks, you got to be archaic to make it work. Can you say paper ballots? Very simple. Oh, but we wouldn't know the results for maybe 48 hours. Well, what would you rather have? Honest results in 48 hours? Or crooked results before the damn thing even begins, before the polls even open? Your choice. What would you like? What do you think they want? Key bono. Who's benefiting here, right? Who's benefiting from rigged elections? Is it going to be us, the people? No. It's going to be them. And that's why they want to control this. That's why they have deliberately dumbed down the electorate. What was it Michelle Obama said this week? And listen to this language. If you know nothing about nothing, go out and vote. This from a former First Lady? If you know nothing about nothing, folks, that's not paraphrasing, that's verbatim. If you know nothing about nothing, go out and vote. You see, the Founding Fathers were quite animate about having an educated electorate. And that's why in the early part of this country, you had to be a landowner to vote. Because of the transition and migration and everything that was going on, they only wanted people who had an interest in the well-being of our nation. They wanted an educated people with a sense of responsibility to the future. Folks, huge hinge point coming up here, this election. And as I said, the results are going to be, they're going to try to hook and crook it, folks. They're admitting it to you. Like I said, blackboxvoting.org. Over 17 million votes were stolen for a total of 5 states in the 2016 election away from Donald Trump. You've got Dianne Feinstein, Chi-Com agent, blocking a constitutionalist from the Supreme Court, or purported constitutionalist. So, without getting into all this, because I don't have the sake of time, you've got no witnesses, you've got no collaborating evidence, you've got actual statements denying the statements that were made by the accuser, and who, by the way, took all of her social media off before she did this. And she has quite the reputation, if you consider drugging and drinking and sex, quite the reputation. Of course, that makes a perfect college professor, doesn't it? To teach your children at a high price indoctrination system. So we are really at this point. And when you please take the time, because I spent too much time on potential World War III and the money wars that are being set up. Folks, the Chinese military, Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton, through Johnny Wong, remember Johnny Wong in the 90s? The White House is like a subway. All you have to do is put coins in it to get access to it. Nothing changed, huh? Nothing changed. From the 90s with Bill Clinton, all the way to last week with Hillary Clinton. Unbelievable. So you've got the Chinese have all of our technology, folks, or most of it. Okay, they may not have things like, say, a TR-3B. Maybe they do. I don't know. Are our TR-3Bs operational right now? I think they're just coming to the floor myself. When I'm not the floor, but into theater. So why is it that, say, the guidance system for the Tomahawk cruise missile, which used to be made in Indiana, is now made in China? Folks, and if you are creating the guidance system on any entity, I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's a wiffle ball or a Tomahawk cruise missile. You have to understand all the coefficiencies that affect the flight of that wiffle ball. Do you get it? There's a reason why the slots are in the wiffle ball, because they understand the aerodynamic coefficiencies that are going to make that wiffle ball do various things. So if I'm building the guidance system, the computer chips, for the guidance system of our frontline cruise missile, don't you think being our enemy is making that maybe they put in some backdoor way to get in there and actually make that thing turn around and blow up the ship, U.S. ship that just fired it at them? You're being sold a bag of lies. Lies, all of it. And you better get off the chair, my friends. And if you wish to go on with this corruption, well, then go vote for a rhino. Go vote for a Democrat. Go ahead. If you're happy living in a cesspool of corruption, by all means, support your cause, but at least get active. And if you're tired of regurgitating lies and swallowing bull dung, then you may want to look for other candidates. But either way, my friends, we are at a hinge point, and we are looking at dire consequences if this election is hacked and corrupted. Dire consequences. And you know they're gonna. I'm going to add another bit to this, because I was just reading the Federal Reserve's open meeting. Speaking of open meetings, how about this one? Barry Soetoro, you know him as Barack Obama, the Vatican, and Alexandra Soros met last week at a secret meeting. Leo Ganami, the biggest insider of the Vatican, spilled the beans 3 days ago. Nothing good for us, for our nation, is going to come out of that meeting, my friends. Nothing good. And now the Federal Reserve, at its secret meeting, announces that they are going to be raising interest rates dramatically. Why? They don't want the number one weapon of the Trump administration to take hold, which is what? A job for you and your children. A proper, good economy. So, I'm going to stop here, my friends, because we are going to lighten it up a little bit. We're going to be presenting to you from Ryan Gervais I'm just going to let Bill play this, and we're going to end here with it. Anyway, my friends, we're going to end with this. We ask you, always closing, asking you to seek truth, to obtain knowledge, to manifest kindness to your fellow man. We always close in reminding you that your government is your responsibility. We're going to lighten it up a little bit here with some bureaucratic ease language put back on the bureaucrats. So, Bill, if we could, let us go ahead and roll that. My friends, as always, we're very thankful that you take the time from your day to view our program, and be prepared to laugh. Thank you.
This is an actual letter sent to a man named Ryan DeVries regarding a pond on his property. It was sent by the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Quality, State of Pennsylvania. This guy's response is hilarious, but read the state's letter before you get to the response letter. State of Pennsylvania's letter to Mr. DeVries, subject, DEEC, file number 975900023, T11N, R10W, Sec 20, Lycoming County. Dear Mr. DeVries, it has come to the attention of the Department of Environmental Quality that there has been recent unauthorized activity on the above-referenced parcel of property. You have been certified as the legal landowner and/or contractor who did the following unauthorized activity: Construction and maintenance of 2 wood debris dams across the outlet stream of Spring Pond. A permit must be issued prior to the start of this type of activity. A review of the department's files shows that no permits have been issued. Therefore, the department has determined that this activity is in violation of Part 301, Inland Lakes and Streams, of the Natural Resource and Environmental Protection Act, Act 451 of the Public Acts of 1994, being Sections 324.30101 to 324.30113 of the Pennsylvania Compiled Laws. Annotated. The department has been informed that one or both of the dams partially failed during a recent rain event, causing debris and flooding at downstream locations. We find that dams of this nature are inherently hazardous and cannot be permitted. The department therefore orders you to cease and desist all activities at this location, and to restore the stream to a free flow condition by removing all wood and brush forming the dams from the stream channel. All restoration work shall be completed no later than January 31, 2013. Please notify this office when the restoration has been completed so that a follow-up site inspection may be scheduled by our staff. Failure to comply with this request or any further unauthorized activity on greater than the site may result in this case being referred for elevated enforcement action. We anticipate and would appreciate your full cooperation in this matter. Please feel free to contact me at this office if you have any questions. Sincerely, David L. Price, District Representative and Water Management Division. Here is the actual response sent back by Mr. DeVries, Re. Deke File No. 97590023, T11N, R10W, Sec. 20, Lycoming County. Dear Mr. Price, your certified letter dated November 17, 2012 has been handed to me. I am the legal landowner but not the contractor at 2088 Daggett Lane, Trout Run, Pennsylvania. A couple of beavers are in the process of constructing and maintaining 2 wood debris dams across the outlet stream of my spring pond. While I did not pay for, authorize, nor supervise their dam project, I think they would be highly offended that you call their skillful use of nature's building materials debris. I would like to challenge your department to attempt to emulate their dam project any time and or any place you choose. I believe I can safely state there is no way you could ever match their dam skills, their dam resourcefulness, their dam ingenuity, their dam persistence, their dam determination and or their dam work ethic. These are the beavers/contractors you are seeking. As to your request, I do not think the beavers are aware that they must first fill out a dam permit prior to the start of this type of dam activity. My first dam question to you is, 1. Are you trying to discriminate against my spring pond beavers, or, 2. Do you require all beavers throughout this state to conform to said dam request? If you are not discriminating against these particular beavers, through the Freedom of Information Act, I request completed copies of all those other applicable beaver dam permits that have been issued. Perhaps we will see if there really is a dam violation of Part 301, Inland Lakes and Streams, of the Greater Than Natural Resource and Environmental Protection Act, Act 451 of the Public Acts of 1994, being Sections 324.30101 to 324.30113 of the Pennsylvania Compiled Laws. Annotated. I have several dam concerns. My first dam concern is, aren't the beavers entitled to legal representation? The spring pond beavers are financially destitute and are unable to pay for said representation, so the state will have to provide them with a dam lawyer. The department's dam concern that either one or both of the dams failed during a recent rain event, causing flooding, is proof that this is a natural occurrence, which the department is required to protect. In other words, we should leave the spring pond beavers alone rather than harassing them and calling them dam names. If you want the dam stream restored to a dam-free flow condition, please contact the beavers, but if you are going to arrest them, they obviously did not pay any attention to your dam letter, they being unable to read English. In my humble opinion, the spring pond beavers have a right to build their unauthorized dams as long as the sky is blue, the grass is green and water flows downstream. They have more dam rights than I do to live and enjoy spring pond. If the Department of Natural Resources and Environmental Protection lives up to its name, it should protect the natural resources, beavers, and the greater than environment, beavers' dams. So, as far as the beavers and I are concerned, this dam case can be referred for more elevated enforcement action right now. Why wait until January 31, 2013? The spring pond beavers may be under the dam ice by then and there will be no way for you or your dam staff to contact/harass them. In conclusion, I would like to bring to your attention to a real environmental quality, health, problem in the area. It is the bears. Bears are actually defecating in our woods. I definitely believe you should be persecuting the defecating bears and leave the beavers alone. If you are going to investigate the beaver dam, watch your dam step. The bears are not careful where they dump. Being unable to comply with your dam request, and being unable to contact you on your damn answering machine, I am sending this response to your damn office. Thank you, Ryan DeVries and the damn Beavers, and it's a true story. Enjoyed this post? Make sure to pass it on.
Got to read between the lines. Got to read between the lines. Well, the truth is very simple, very hard to find. Can't believe